This episode is brought to you by the Unveil Deep Dives, a unique transformational experience that you can book today with Victoria Fenton. In 90 minutes, she will walk you through an in-depth human design reading, interweaving insights from the Gene Key system and her extensive coaching experience. Unveil Deep Dives are available now, and you can book into Victoria's diary directly from the Unveil website at unveilenterprises.com/deep dives.
In today's episode of the Unveil podcast, Brace and I talk all about what to do when you don't know what to do. We discuss the power of powerful questions and how to shift your landscape around stuckness and places where you feel like you're at an impasse. We give you the questions that we think you should be asking yourself. And then, as per usual, we segue into a massive detour.
I'm so sorry. That was going so well.
It was, and then I just looked at you and it was like...
Guys, it's a fun episode. We get into it.
We do, and we talk all about human design types, and we talk about not being negative. We talk about how to use this in coaching. We talk about specific to your design, how to ask questions, and we close it out with some really deep insights into where to go if you are stuck.
Beautiful.
And we laugh a lot, as you can tell.
Awesome, guys. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Good day and welcome. My name is Brace Harris.
And I am Victoria Fenton.
And we are
Unveil.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Oh my god, we're busy, aren't we, Brace?
Super busy.
It's like every day we're like, oh, we'll do this new thing, and we'll add this thing in, and we'll change this bit.
And we'll build this.
And we'll yes.
And then we'll build the infrastructure for this. And then it's like, what are we doing now? It's like, oh.
Yeah, but I think the thing that I'm realizing is that we're doing things all about the client experience. So everything that we do, we're kind of constantly mindful of how is a client going to receive this, an Unveil, part of the Unveil family. But the family also includes the people that we're bringing on and hiring. So I'm kind of creating a back end that's as nice and lovely as the front end. And
Wait a second.
Don't Brace.
Wait a second.
Oh man.
Man. Oh jeez. You've been hanging around with a Southern boy too long. All right.
It's all going to...
Careful. Jeez. One right after another. I can't. You're out of control.
Oh, sorry guys. We are literally just feeling all the feels and everything is a bit chaotic. But to update people, we have...
Which is great. I love it.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is about us, when we are manifesting, we are really manifesting. And the things that we've got coming up for launch this year, like we have a marketing person who's helping us out, and she sent us a message this morning, and I got so excited about the things that we're doing, and it just feels so aligned and so perfect. So yeah,
very much so. And what are we designing, or do we want to talk about that?
Can we? I don't know that we can yet. We'll keep a few secrets, but we will tell you. So we've just come off the back of 3 episodes of Human Design and Gene Keys, and ridiculously, they were so well received that we have changed things at Unveil. So in episode...
Surprise.
I know. Who'd have thought? So in episode, I think... I can't even remember now, the Human Design one, or the Gene Keys one actually. I think I said, maybe you can convince me to have a Human Design or a Gene Keys reading. Actually, now we're offering those as a service because we are a service business. We are in service. We are in service to the whole. And I think we looked at it all. And I actually did some readings and some, just overviews for people. And people were blown away, literally blown away.
See, I wasn't lying to you guys.
Yeah.
It's literally blow your hair back, mind bending, but that makes so much sense. And it helps one ground so much easier into how you are. It's really...
Yeah, and the feedback I've been getting from people is that it's very affirming and relieving for someone to go, but this is just how you're designed, and suddenly all of those expectations and pressures and hopes just fall away. And it's interesting because the way I interweave things when I'm doing kind of a reading, say, which we're now calling an Unveil Deep Dive, by the way, is I'm starting to realise more and more how unique it is, and I feel very blessed to have the knowledge and the wisdom that I do, and I feel very just lucky that I get to give this to people.
Yeah, and you know what's so wonderful about it, and what I keep discovering is it's not like you're giving us a strategy or anything and then makes life more difficult. Like, for example, if you have this hardcore diet and there are very strict rules and you've got to follow this thing and it makes you a little bit miserable, maybe. It's nothing like that. It actually is so easy to implement these adjustments. Well, not even adjustments. It's just like, okay, you can let the stuff you're trying to force fall away, and then you just kind of get into you find the groove that you've actually always had, and it just makes life easier, and it's not difficult to apply what you learn to your life.
I love that you
it
said
actually
that. Yeah.
flows with how you are naturally. It's not like you're pushing the rock up the hill like Sisyphus. It's like, oh yeah, it's like, whoa, the rock is actually rolling. I don't have to push it anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that is because you're behaving correctly.
Bingo.
So it's actually easier to do it correctly than it is to try and do it the wrong way, which is like a big thing with everything we do at Unveil. Yeah.
It's like, who wouldn't want that? Exactly.
Right. So just so that everyone knows, if you're following us on social media, which you should all be, you will know this already, but we have launched deep dives, which are 90 minutes with me going through human design and gene keys, very specific stuff.
Amazing. Yeah.
And then we also have immersions, which are either a half day or a full day with me, exploring this further and further, because as you've realised, Brace, this is endless. Like, this is the more you talk, the more you can explore and understand.
Right. It's like when we say deep dives, it gets deep.
Yeah.
And amazingly so.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, yes.
And so immersions, I will also look at relationships and significant people in your life, and we'll go through it all, but also coach as well. So I think the uniqueness of the skill set that we discussed, it's not that there aren't other human design readers out there, and good ones. It's not that there aren't other gene keys advocates and ambassadors, but I think the very unique combination of all of my coaching training, the functional medicine, the human design, the gene keys, it gives a very different sense of how I can utilize these tools. And as I think we did a very good job of explaining in the last episode, it isn't just, here's the strategy, go do it, you'll be fine. It's like, well, this might be difficult. Let's explore your response. Let's explore your instincts in response to the things that we've given you. So
yeah. Well, and speaking of strategies, that's what today's episode is kind of revolving around. It's, what to do when you don't know what to do. Which, if anyone out there is like me, that happens pretty much 10,000 times a day. And it's like, okay, what to do when you don't know what to do? And we wanted to apply some practical strategies that all of us can use and that are accessible to all of us. We just almost have to change the way that we think about how our approach is to quote unquote said problem.
And this is all inspired by your video a couple of things, but Brace has put some videos up on social media, so if you're not following Brace, follow Brace, we'll tag him in the show notes, but that have really spoken to people, and this what to do when you don't know what to do was one that you did this last week.
It was one of the weeks. I kind of get lost.
But I think it is interesting because you were making the really good point of just start. And that is invaluable advice, but of course the next question is, but where do I start?
Okay, it's like, a lot of people are like, oh, okay, I'm willing to start. What does that mean necessarily? Yeah. It's like, okay, here's a strategy to get some juices flowing.
Absolutely, and I think we're going to use this to make some really bigger points about human consciousness and perception, and also personal growth. Like, it's not just if you've got a situation in which you're stuck, because let's just hark it back to human design a tiny bit. Like, literally the strategy for what to do when you don't know what to do for nearly all types is nothing, but that's really infuriating. And,
extremely.
Right. And
even as you said it, I wanted to push you.
Right, you're a manifestor. It's like, don't tell me I can't move things. And it's like, okay, so and this is the big bit about why there is more to life than human design. It's like, what does your mind do when you've given authority to your body and your strategy? It's like your mind needs to have stuff to keep it occupied. And so this is where today's episode comes in, and the subtitle of today's episode is The Power of Powerful Questions.
Power of powerful questions. Ooh, tell me more. What does that mean?
What does it mean? Okay, so there's a really interesting phenomenon of the human brain, which is if you ask it a question, it tries to find an answer. So a lot of the times when we're feeling stuck and at an impasse, it's because we've exhausted everything within our conscious perception, and we are looking around helpless, but we haven't realized that there's actually additional things that we could be doing that's just outside if we expand the box. And the only way to get outside of the box of like the narrow space that we're looking at is to ask powerful questions.
Okay.
And I think the element of this is that we always, always is a terrible word to use, but most often as human beings, we're looking to find the right answers. But the shift that we would like everyone to try experimenting with is, it's not necessarily about the answers. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it's about the way it makes you shift and the way it makes you think. Because if you're starting to expand your awareness by asking some powerful questions, you're actually changing your relationship to the problem. And it doesn't even matter.
That's huge. I want to pause. Change your relationship to the problem.
Because you've become solution oriented.
Right.
You're like, well, this is an impasse. How can I fix it? But how can I fix it isn't a powerful question, because you're going, I've got this toolkit and I'm looking at this problem.
Well,
yeah.
How do I fix it? I mean, I can't speak for all men, but I feel like that is our tendency and again, I can't speak for all men out there. It's, how do I fix it? Let's fix it. Yeah. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. And every time that I've tried to do that, especially with my wife, she's like, I don't need you to fix it. Or fix me. Exactly. No, that's huge.
Yeah.
I just need you to listen. And be in this with me.
Yeah.
And I love it. But that's like the first way that my brain starts to, or the first strategy that my brain grabs a hold of on how to, move forward. It's like, what do I do when I don't know what to do? Okay, my brain immediately goes to, all right, what's the tried and true strategy? I say tried and true because it does something. It may not be the best thing. Strategy that we've always used that works for as much as it has your whole life.
And I love that you just said that, because that's what causes repeated patterns. Because when you fix it with your strategy, and for people not watching, I'm putting those in air quotes, it's like, okay, you move away from the problem by a degree, but it's going to cycle back around because you haven't fixed it
anything
at all.
Right.
You've just used a strategy and a pattern. And I think it's important to point out the opposite of what you've just pointed out, which is like, yes, some people can be the fix-it mentality, but other people can be the abandoned mentality. It's like, I don't know what to do, I'm just leaving it.
Right. Run away. Like pick a strategy. It's like, if you're listening, I'm sure you're already in your own mind like, oh, this is what I do.
This is me.
This is what I do.
Yeah. And I think, so it's not just ask a question. That's not the subtitle of this episode. It's ask powerful questions.
Right.
And we are going to go into what those powerful questions could be, and then we're also going to expand on that even further, because as coaches, we're taught different ways of using questions, and a lot of what we do is ask the right questions. But again, I want to bring it back to the fact that it's not because we're necessarily interested in the answers, in the specificity of the answers. There's so much that's underneath how you answer a question, the words you use, the language you choose. And almost you can do this game with yourself. You can ask, if you're asking powerful questions, you can learn so much by the way your brain resolves the problem. And that's information.
That's huge. Learn how your brain resolves a problem, and in that's where the true gold is.
Right.
It's like, what is your default?
Yes.
As you are now. Like, what is your default?
Because it's possible that needs to change.
Yes, and you have to give yourself that as an option. You need to conceive that. It's like, maybe the way that I've been doing stuff is not the best way. And if you think it is the best way, go in and really get honest with yourself.
Well, and
is that the best, or is that the best way only for you?
Yeah.
And if it's the best way only for you, is there a reason why you may be protecting yourself?
Right.
By always being right. Literally, I could go down the rabbit hole right
and
now. So
saying,
let's keep it simple. And we're not saying that you're wrong either.
Right.
It's just like if you can look at it and know that it's the best case scenario for everyone involved, including yourself. Then that should be okay.
Right. But it's not having.
But everyone is so different. Every situation is so specific to the individual. It's so hard to give like a blanket.
But there is one blanket statement.
Tell me.
Everything is up for negotiation.
Well, yes.
So as long as that's on the table, as long as you are able to ask yourself not just questions, but powerful questions, and by that we mean questions that get underneath the skin of the problem, or underneath the typical narrative, or underneath the kind of pattern stuff that you're running, you've got ammunition. Because ultimately it's either you're going to stick in the problem going circular and not asking the right questions, or you're going to just abdicate and come back to it 1,001 times in your life. And you can choose to do both of those things. But the sense is, if you're listening to podcasts like this, you're probably a bit more involved in trying to choose to resonate more deeply with the truth rather than avoidance and, escape.
Yes. So,
yes.
Powerful questions.
Yes.
What are some powerful questions that one can ask oneself?
Well, actually, I'm going to start with the what not to do. So, it's not useful to be negative towards oneself when one is asking a question, because it sets up the question in the wrong way.
Okay.
So, for instance.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you give me can we think of a fictional problem so that we can actually use an example?
Okay. I want to quit my job, but I don't know if I can do that.
Great. Okay.
It's like, oh gosh.
So, perfect example, because the way your brain is working currently, not you, Brace, but the dummy person, is using the information from experiences in the past to project into the future best and worst case scenarios and all the potential pitfalls of leaving your job, which seems like a good strategy because it's how the brain works, but actually all you're doing is using everything from the past, because you take past experiences and project it into the future, which has no bearing in what the actual future might hold.
Right, because if you're using the same strategy and you're wanting to think about things differently and you're using old strategies, nothing is changing. There's nothing new happening.
Right.
It's like what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome.
Yeah, and so you're sitting there thinking, I really want to leave my job. So a powerful question isn't, why am I so indecisive? That's terrible.
Yeah, you've already passed judgment on yourself.
Right.
It's like, I am indecisive. It's like, whoa.
Well, that's a declarative statement.
Yeah, give yourself a break. Yeah.
Like, how can you make a decision if you've declared that you're indecisive?
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Right.
Everybody's mine.
And it's that thing, it's like, why am I indecisive? Why can't I make a decision? Or,
Look, me, I used to be like, why am I such an idiot? Why am I such a fuck up? Why do I always sabotage everything that I ever do? And so I was already beating myself up, judging myself, just creating a no-win scenario immediately.
And even worse if you're slightly in this work.
Yeah.
Because if you're slightly in this work, you've got enough awareness to know that you're sabotaging yourself, but not necessarily enough awareness to know what to do about it. And then you just beat yourself up for sabotaging yourself.
Exactly. Yes,
right.
yes.
And so it's so interesting because, backing up a hair's breadth, you're not asking a question to get an answer necessarily. It's not necessarily always about because you're going to get the right answer. But with the negativity that you're kind of pushing into the scenario, if you're being negative about yourself, why am I such a fuck up? The answer that you get will come through negativity and it will come through wounding. So it may be an answer, but the ammunition behind it and the fuel behind it and the resonance behind it is negative towards yourself. So you're very much more likely to stay in the job because you've gone, why am I such a failure? Oh, I'm never going to be a success. And then in your projection into the future body,
Yeah.
you're projecting a
This
lack
is
of
the best
success.
that it's ever going to get.
Yeah. And how can you become a creative entrepreneur that you really want to be and go and run that design company that you've always wanted to do if you think that you're an indecisive fuck up? You're not going to get the answer. Leave.
No. Yeah. And so we're going into this differently. Let's remember that. So we asked the powerful question, what instead?
Well, so with this specific example, I mean, the thing with powerful questions is it's about not being too complicated, and I always say to people, sliding additional narratives alongside the one that you have. So a lot of the time and I'll explain that, a lot of time people in personal development, personal growth, try to stop projecting into the future with their negative mindset and replace that with projecting into the future with a positive mindset.
Right.
It's a bit of a waste of time because what you're doing by doing that is denying the biochemical impulse of safety, project fear and potential pitfalls into the future. Mm-hmm. So what I invite...
You're actually jumping ahead in the strategy.
It's more, what I invite my clients to do is accept that we are human beings at the base of it. So we're always going to have an eye on, that might not work.
Right.
But slide alongside it, what would it look like if it works? So the question can be, what would it look like if I left my job and it was an amazing success?
Okay.
And even by energetically allowing your nervous system and your neurochemical pathways in the brain to tap into the potential of another reality, you're changing the landscape of the problem in your mind and in your body. So you're opening a doorway to an additional reality instead of just going, oh, well, all these terrible things could happen.
Yeah.
And that's action, people. That's not just asking a question and not doing anything. By allowing your nervous system to experience the positive potential, you're opening up the potential for positivity to come to your nervous system. Does that make sense?
It does.
There's another question in Brace's mind. So I'm going to fill the silence because I know that on a podcast medium, having silence. But the way that I love our business relationship is that Brace really deeply thinks about things and makes me explain things better when I haven't explained them very well. So where's the gap?
For me, what came up, and it's funny because I'm a coach and I know all this stuff, but I'm enjoying the process of, really splitting all the hairs and seeing where it all goes. It's like, yes, I get that. Mm-hmm. I understand the reasoning behind it. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there that are going, well, it's not that easy. Like just to...
Imagine a better future.
Imagine a better future.
It's why the subtitle is The Power of Powerful Questions, plural.
Right.
But you have to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I think opening the doorway to it being different, you can then ask different questions. Like, so what would it look like if I left my job and it was an amazing success?
You know, it just came up, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. The difference energetically when asking, what would it look like if it were best case scenario? Mm-hmm. What would it look like that? So people get to fantasize about it, not I have to apply this positive thinking to my actual real life.
Absolutely.
And that's the hard thing.
It's why I hate positive memes on Instagram, because it's like, it's not about believe it's going to be amazing and then it'll be amazing. That's the secret doesn't work like that. It's not like believe it. It's open up the doorway. It's a question. It's not, oh my God, I need to envision my future life being amazing. It's what would it look like? What would it feel like? Because what you're doing is you're creating a physiological reality of excitement, of potential. And when there's potential...
Which fuels the present,
And you can then ask the ninja question of, okay, and what is it costing me to not be in that positive future right now? And what you're doing by that is stacking your psyche to give you motivation to make the change and to make the decision.
It's leverage.
Yes, I love that, leverage, this sounds like you're playing mental tricks on yourself, and you are.
but it's good because you're the mental tricks are actually retraining your brain how to think. Mm-hmm. It's breaking the old strategy, that your default strategy that you would just normally have gone to, and is giving yourself a different way to see the world, yourself, all of the above, from a different perspective. And you don't lose anything by doing it this way. You're actually gaining so much insight into who you are, why you do what you do. So please continue. Yeah.
No, and so it doesn't, and I know that we're giving a very specific example, but there are those kind of, what would it look like, what would it feel like, what is not changing costing me, are really powerful questions to ask for every situation. The one caveat with the what is it costing me is no guilt, no blame, no shame. You don't get to beat yourself up for, there being consequences. But what we're doing is we are changing it from a this is the past, therefore projecting to the future, to a well, hang on a second, what other potentials are there? Another really powerful question is, well, what would I do if I did know what to do? And use your instinct. It's like, what would I change if I did know exactly how to get better? Because by asking these questions, remember what I said before, the brain has to come up with an answer, and you may surprise yourself. It may be the thing that you didn't think of that comes up as the first thing that you need to change.
Yeah, and when you ask that type of question, that's from what my experience is, an NLP style of question, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and actually accesses the subconscious. So whatever answer comes forward is actually not your conscious mind working it out, but it's your subconscious giving you the true answer that's underneath everything that you may not have had access to previously.
So it's particularly powerful to ask yourselves questions that you know know the answers to, because it accesses the subconscious, as you say. And I'm going to give a personal example about us and our business, because it's just occurred to me that we have been doing this a little bit. We kind of, as we mentioned at the beginning here, we're building so much, we're doing so much, everything's really fast moving, and it's kind of ginormous and it feels overwhelming. And so for a long period we were kind of looking at the problem as in an order of things and which to do things, and it's like we were just looking at the problem. And then yesterday we had that moment of what would it look like if we were going to focus just on this bit, and suddenly the answers came forward. And that's why we're bringing staff on more quickly, and we're actually resourcing ourselves because we asked a question rather than just looking at the breadth of the problem. And it's like, okay, so what would it look like if it were easy? It's a brilliant question. What would it look like if it were easy? Because then you get to, human beings just tolerate tons.
Yeah, we tolerate so much.
Yeah.
It's a survival technique.
Yeah, and we can, it's not that we're saying, oh no, maybe we are saying you can have the life that you dream of and only do the stuff that brings you joy, because that's kind of a good goal to have.
Well, yeah, it's available. You hear it all the time. It's like, okay, great. Now
what
do I do?
And it's like, do you actually really know what brings you joy? Like the hardest homework I ever give to my clients is the desires list. Everyone struggles with it because everyone feels something regarding desires. So maybe there's the big goal that they can get, but it's the little ones. It's like what do you actually really want is one of the hardest questions for people to answer, because we're so conditioned by what we should want, what society tells us we want, what society tells us we're allowed to want.
Yeah, like what you're not allowed to want.
Yeah.
Whether it's culture, upbringing,
great point, culture,
discipline, or there's a lot of stuff that regulates what we're allowed to have. So in this scenario, we get to present about fantasizing about the potential of like what would feel amazing, and then you get to go into, okay, why do I want that? And it's like, then it gives you a whole other level to dig into. Why do I specifically want, it's going back to the job, like the new job where I only work 5 hours a day. Why do you only want to work 5 hours a day? That's great. If you can find a job like that and really want it, that would be amazing. It's like, what is it about that compels you, that pulls you forward? And it goes back to this push-pull thing. If you're having to force stuff to push it and you're not being pulled forward, that's how you'll energetically know the difference. Like if it just feels like it's pulling you, that's the direction that you need to go. That's where your intuition, your natural gift, your true self is pulling you forward to the right. answer. And if you feel that pull, really pay attention to that. And these questions will help you find that, pull, as opposed to forcing, I'm pushing.
And I just want to make the point that the pull is very different from running away. Because
it's not pulling you away, it's pulling you forward. And by forward, I mean to a greater realization of your life.
And I love that you just said that, because I think so often we focus on the desire for the next thing based on the irritations or the tolerations of the thing we've just been in. So the thing that I recommend to my clients, points like this, is space. It's like, give yourself a buffer space between when that thing ends and when the next thing begins, because you'll identify whether that next thing is actually an emanation of your true self or a knee-jerk reaction away from the thing that you just got out of.
It's your rebound job.
Right, precisely. Yes.
It's your rebound.
Yeah.
We don't need rebounds. Everybody out there. Well, I would say sometimes a rebound works out, but in my experience, the rebounds don't necessarily work.
No, and it's
because I just hate. I almost used a word, but I was like, no, that's not good.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say they're almost tainted.
Definitely, because it's a the whole thing about rebounds.
I think I'm trying to be too polite. It's just like, come on, if tainted, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I think so many people are bumbling around life, not really asking themselves questions, like going from one thing to another.
Questions can be scary because they force you to be honest, and honesty.
Well, because your brain has to find an answer. So
right, you gotta rationalize
exactly. And if you never question whether you love your job, you don't need to face the fact that you're living a life you hate. If you
everybody just like, if you're driving, listen to that, you probably just had a wreck.
Oh God, no!
We apologize.
Please don't. No, but like listening to Unveil with care, like people like. Bubble baths and like scented candles only, please. But it feels like this isn't about complicating it to find an answer. It's like pushing your brain into a different neurological space will show you a different window. So the powerful questions are not necessarily ones that you can answer directly, because the what would I do if I knew what to do can sometimes confuse people. But realistically, what you said is absolutely vital that people recognize. It's like, we're not trying to this is not a let's sit down and systematize a solution to this stuckness that I'm feeling. It's very much a, how can I change this situation in the moment to make it look different so that I can feel differently about it, so I can think about it differently, so I can maybe see the future direction. And so if you really are struggling with a hard problem and you just don't know what to do, don't know how to have a conversation, or what to change to make yourself feel better, or where to go, just start asking yourself what feels aligned. That's a good question.
Well, yeah, what feels aligned? It's so funny. We're always kind of on the same wavelength. But what do I need?
Oh my God.
What do I need?
Such a good question.
Here? And be honest with yourself. Know the difference between I need this for reasons that aren't the real reasons.
Oh, I'm so tempted to tease our thing that we're doing.
It's like, go deeper than that. It's like, okay, what do I need? If it's the job scenario, what do I need? I need to feel fulfilled in my life. Okay, great. Why do you want to feel fulfilled? Like, ask yourself another question. Keep the questions coming. Continue to answer those questions honestly and openly. And you know the difference. You will be digging. You're literally going to be coaching yourself. We're teaching you how to coach yourself.
This is what we do. Like, and also, I'm really tempted to tease what we're building, because this is really difficult to get people to touch and connect to. So just know that there is something coming out from Unveil where we will take you way more through all of this.
Well, why don't you just tell them now?
Well,
it's like,
okay,
you've like
I've done it. Can I tell them? Brace and I are building a weekend workshop where you get to spend time with us. I'm not going to reveal the title yet because it's a bit of a working title and I kind of love it, but it's a whole weekend online, virtually, with us in a webinar format where we are going to give you loads of support to get to know yourself better and get to love yourself better.
I love that.
And one of the sessions we're doing, Brace is going to walk everyone through how to physically know the difference between when you're being honest and when you're kind of pulling the wool over your own eyes, pulling the veil over your own eyes.
Ooh, yeah, we wanna lose that veil.
Yes, we do. So that's the other thing that we're building. We haven't got dates for it yet, guys. It will be soon-ish, but we will keep everyone posted. But if you're interested, the newsletter links to sign up are floating around. They'll be in the show notes. I'll make sure that everything's there because we will keep the newsletter subscribers informed of all of this stuff. But that weekend, we're really excited about it. Like, we created it, and I keep getting like we keep like. I was like, what? Are you okay? You're so giddy right now. I was even like in the shower this morning trying to phase the first session. So yeah, it's a really good introduction to the work we do, and we will have massive opportunities within it to get some coaching from us and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just came because you were talking about being honest, and I think it's really easy, particularly when you're facing a problem, to give yourself an answer that you want to hear.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a really good point. It's, you know, we it's easy for us to say, be honest with yourself. It's like, well, we've been trained to almost think that our dishonest reaction to something is the honest reaction. This 100%. Is, you know, it goes back to like, this is my truth. It's like, well, your truth is different from their truth and their truth and their truth. So what kind of truth are we talking about? It's like,
and ask yourself, like in this powerful question stuff, if you get an answer and you're doubting yourself, ask yourself, am I being honest with myself right now? Because you get an answer.
You get to learn what the difference is between an honest answer and an answer that puts on an honest mask and steps forward and be like, this is your honest answer, when underneath it all, it's just a strategy for protecting yourself and keeping yourself safe. I'm not saying that it's evil or bad. It's just what you had to do to survive from when, more than likely, you were a child and didn't even know that that's what you were doing. So you get to give yourself a break in that as well.
Yeah, and I think particularly with the job analogy, it's very easy to make yourself happy with the end result of the job. So it's fine because the salary's good. It's fine because...
Well, we justify everything.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, well, you may lose that job next week, you know, and it's like, okay, you just killed yourself for a potential reality. It's like you're only guaranteed, maybe super cliche, but you're only guaranteed today. So would you rather be doing something that you love every day? I know so many people have told me examples from their parents or their own lives. It's like, yeah, I thought that I had it made, or my parents had all this retirement and all this stuff and all these stocks or all these things and all this protection that wasn't actually real, and they lost it, but they they chose to take a path that wasn't as fulfilling for this reward that they were going to get someday, and then that someday didn't come. How often have we done that?
And I really feel that there is this kind of, we're taught by society what's safe. Money in the bank, roof over your head, like all of that kind of stuff. And it's like, what's truly safe is love. It's the only thing that's truly safe. So love in your own life.
And don't groan out there, my groaners, love.
But we've been having this conversation between ourselves recently. It's like, how do you navigate this world where we're always going to be human beings? And the only answer is love. It's the hardest answer, but it's the easiest answer as well at the same time, because everything good is a paradox. But it's like, if you're not loving your life,
that's the key.
You're cash rich or property rich or, you know, even people rich, but you're not internally nourished.
It's like, man, you're missing out on the greatest gift that you could actually give yourself.
I mean, we talk about how much we're doing, but we love every second of it. Like, there's no day when we're like, oh, that was a waste of time, or that didn't feel great. Even if we go around the houses and change everything, it's like this, we love what we do. And I think it shows. It shows here, it shows in the work, it shows in our own personal lives. And I feel that the way I got here was asking myself powerful questions. In South Africa, what's really important to me? Like, was it the attempts of career that I was having there? Was it, and I was like, people, connection, community. And you became a really important person. So no brainer question, do the risky, crazy thing of going to America. So it, like, these things.
But you got to that because you asked the powerful questions, because you were truly honest with yourself. And in working all that out and digging into it, you were like, okay, it is over here. Is that the easiest path? Maybe not the easiest. Well,
No.
it definitely wasn't the easiest for you, but it may not be the easiest for those of you that are listening. But the reward, interesting. How we're like, oh, the reward is there. But in the job, making myself miserable, the reward, do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, sorry to totally veer left. What is the difference, do you think, in the journey of I am searching for happiness, but it takes getting into the mess and having it be messy for that reward, and I'm just going to suffer for the job? Oh, it's that the happiness I feel is guaranteed. If you're willing to do the work, you will find joy and happiness. And then in the job, if you make yourself miserable, there's still no guarantee that you're going to have anything at the end. And then how unfulfilled was your life? And as far as the life journey going for happiness, it's, yes, it's messy and difficult, but you love every second of it. And in the job, it's like, I am just putting up with everything, and oh, that's just not very fun.
And I think as we've said probably many times before, but my sense has always been that there's a resonance and a power behind truth and integrity. And so I think that the kind of feedback loop of energy that comes when you do the difficult thing and step into the self journey is constantly becoming aware of the fact that you're being truer and more authentic, and that in and of itself is a reward, and it feels,
there you go,
like energetic liberation.
That's it. Yes, thank you for simplifying my very long, comparison there. No, that's brilliant. That's what I could feel, but I just couldn't articulate it very well.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of conversations this week with clients who've both been like, isn't it easier to be ignorant? Isn't it easy just to have
no ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. And it's like, it isn't. Ignorance is unawareness, and ignorance and unawareness are perfectly fine for the people for whom they are fine, but for anyone who has even an inkling that the truth is somewhere over there, living in discord from the truth will be a constant discomfort for your entire life. And that's the problem. We're recording courses at the moment, and we're really trying hard to make the point that, like, integrity and honesty are not just nice traits to have. It's a phrase, it's a sentence that is written in one of the lessons of our course, because they're not. They are nice traits to have, but they actually have a nervous system effect of safety, peace, healing, nurturing, home. And at the moment you're home, something in the nervous system completely shifts, and you are safer, happier, healthier, more vibrant, because you're home. And it's a big reason why we bring the human design in, because it gets people home quicker. A little bit. You don't need it, but it is part of the home gaining strategy, because, home base is a resonant place to be. And so when this, what we're saying at the beginning about doing people's human design readings, it's like they remember it, they recognize it. You're not telling them stuff that they don't somewhere neurally, logically already know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And so asking these questions, what we're doing by asking questions is peeling back the layers of narrative, strategy, habit, pattern, all of that, to see completely comprehensively what is underneath, because what is underneath has more relevance for growth and the future and healing.
Yeah. And as you get there, then you get to actionize some of that. It's like, okay, I've peeled back this layer, and then this layer, and then this layer. What are my options now that I know what I know? Because once you know it, you can't unknow it. Yeah. Is it a journey that you can go on with yourself? Can you pull in support, which is always going to get you further faster? I mean, going it alone is okay, but it's harder, and you may eventually get to the same destination of discovery. I don't know what the right answer is. It's going to be unique to the individual.
And it brings us on really neatly to like how to use this in coaching, because we will have coaches listening to this podcast, because we are going to train coaches eventually. And coaches who use questions are trained sometimes to use them well, but sometimes not trained to use them particularly brilliantly. And it is the role of a coach is to understand that we're not necessarily asking a question to know the answer. We're asking a question to explore the framework with which the client is looking at the problem. And I think it's really relevant to keep driving home the point that it's not the answer that's the point always. It's, what we're exploring the landscape, and that is always more beneficial because we're exploring what is going on in our clients' worlds, if you like, because we have no comprehension. The amount of times I ask the question in a coaching session, can you just explain that a bit more for me? Because I can't make an assumption that when somebody uses a phrase, they're using it to mean the same thing that I think it means, because we all have different histories and different landscapes. So if you're a coach and you are interested in asking more powerful questions, just remember that you getting more into the awareness of your client's reality is dependent on you asking them to explain it to you, particularly their meaning around certain words. Spirituality is a really important one. Spirituality, God, because nobody has the same understanding of what that means.
Right.
So you can't just say, yes, I have a faith. And it's just like, well, what does that mean? Like, you need to know, what does that mean? Really great question. And all of these things, again, just to tie it back to our human design stuff, because it's really important that we keep the themes going for everyone, because the human design types, it looks like you don't have to ask questions, or you're like the only type you need to ask questions of is generators, and it's more than that. And we, as coaches, I think it's really important that a coach knows their type, so they know how to support a client from an energetic space of truth. And we've had this conversation quite regularly about, like, you're a manifester,
right? And
the way you can speak to a client is very different to the way I can speak to a client. But
and there's a very specific reason for that. It's for manifestors, their aura and their energy is very it pushes. What's the word I'm looking for?
Repellent.
Yes.
Which is not a very nice word, but
it's like as soon as you said it, I was like,
yeah, sorry.
No, but that makes sense. It's very powerful, and it kind of throws its weight around.
Yeah.
And the way that I am designed is like when I get an impulse, like a true one, I'm the type of design that can tell you exactly what just came in for me.
Yeah. And it's more powerful when you do. Like, the biggest breakthroughs we've had is when you've told me how it is.
Why did you laugh?
I
You don't like it when people tell you how it is?
I don't, but I do let you. And
Interesting.
That's the most important point.
Interesting.
Yes.
But I have to be very specific about how I deliver that information. Because for me as a manifestor, I can't just walk up to somebody and be like, this is the way that it is. Because that's like, dude, again, my energy and my aura is a little aggressive feeling if I don't preface it. And this is the cool thing for my manifestors out there. Preface with, I want to tell you something, or this is the way that I am seeing it. let the person know, you're basically alley-ooping yourself. So you're setting yourself up to deliver what you know to be true, where it's not so aggressive. It actually is like, hey, I'm about to tell you something, and it's coming from a place of love and knowing. And really, you say all of that in letting the person know that you're about to tell them something. Now, as a manifestor coach, if I'm just barking at people and being like, this is this, and this is what I'm seeing, and this is the stuff, that is not going to go over well, especially when we're talking about sensitive subjects. So I always...
And sometimes I'll just add to that, like, manifestors can have the power to move energy and affect energy. So just being a constant cheerleader as a coach, or a constant, dictatorial kind of, you just need to change this. No, it doesn't feel right. But manifestors can very much pave the way by just taking their time, particularly an emotional manifestor, take the time, let the insight come, and then let the silence fall. And the silence is the open space. But then you just go, I'm going to share with you what I'm seeing. And that, from a generator, feels horrible. I hate that. I would never do that. But from a manifestor, the gravitas with which you say that, everyone's like, okay. And then the kind of permission is given to say the thing.
Yeah, because it's coming from a good place outside of myself. I'm just
delivering.
I'm just the messenger.
Yeah.
But how the information is put into me, and then my ability to deliver, there's a reason it's given to me in the way that it's given.
And so to do the other types as well, projectors, the whole wait for the invitation thing is really complex, but you can ask for an invitation. Like there's no rules that you can't ask for an invitation. So if you've got an insight for a client, you can say, can I share something with you? It's like same for generators, just keep asking questions. And for generators as well. So let me just finish off with projectors. Projectors, you will have insights, but if you just start delivering them, you don't have an open slip because they've paid you to be a coach. It's like you actually do need to ensure that they're on board with receiving the wisdom that you got at that specific moment. So can I share what I'm seeing with you? And they go yes. Their yes is an invitation for you to share.
So would you say theirs is kind of a manifestor?
They're very similar. Manifestors, and we were talking about this before we press record, it's like, because it's normal conversation, manifestors also might ask for quote unquote permission. Because can I share something with you is quite a natural thing to say. I'm just going to tell you what I'm seeing. It may not be quite in the manifestor thing, but it could be. So manifestors can do either. Projectors can't go, I'm just going to tell you what I'm seeing. They really need to go, can I share with you what I'm seeing? Because
they always ask for permission.
They always have to ask for permission, basically.
Got it.
Because their insights have to be invited. And the thing with projectors is if they give something and it isn't well received, their aura, their energy system pays for it. It's like they have this thing about getting external recognition. And that means that when they don't, it actually hurts the projector. It feels like they're given a value and they haven't been seen. And that can be quite challenging. Reflectors are kind of complex, and reflector, just use your energy system to know what to do and how to say things, because it will be different depending on the time of the month. That is not a menstrual reference, by the way, that's a lunar cycle reference. Just to put that out there, because it did sound very much like I was talking about hormones. I'm sorry.
You're drunk.
I'm drunk with excitement. Generators, oh my goodness. And it took us a while to work out how I should explain this before we press record, because we do plan these podcasts somehow, guys, somewhere.
Everybody's like,
really?
Ooh. Maybe you should hire somebody to
yeah, those outsourcing things, structure. Yeah.
It's like, know your strengths, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
I was talking to somebody about a project management system this morning, and I worked out why I hate them. It's because I have to structure my abstract mind into linear, task orient, and I'm like, I'm so bored.
Even the way you just said that, structure my abstract mind in a linear thing. I'm like, you lost me in abstract mind.
Yeah, no, but this is why we're hiring somebody to do this for us. But generators, what I really got to is generators. Imagine your motor is humming all the time, and what you're doing is humming in resonance to things and to people. So just to whiz back to, what to do when you don't know what to do. Sometimes a generator, you can get someone to ask you questions. It's always really powerful. Get them to ask you yes and no questions. But also you can start throwing stuff against a wall and see what resonates with you. So you can use the external to help shift yourself forwards. And basically, instead of asking a question to your subconscious mind, you're asking a question to the universe. You're asking a question to God or whatever. So use tarot cards or angel cards, or pick up the Gene Keys book and think about what gene key you need to read, because you're using something to bounce off. You kind of need to respond to something.
Okay. Well, what about generators who aren't necessarily familiar with tarot or angel cards or gene keys?
You can do anything. So almost scroll through social media and see what speaks to you that day. It's a really it's what I do. I was actually having this conversation with someone this morning because I'm not proactive on social media doing all the kind of quote marketing things that people should do, because I use it as I'm bouncing off something to respond. I get inspiration from it. So I will read someone's post and it will spark a thought, and I'll write my own post. It's all of that kind of stuff.
Got
it. Open a newspaper. That's a very old-fashioned reference. Find an online magazine article, whatever, and use it to respond and resonate to. But as generators...
Magazine article? What is a magazine? Jeez.
I'm so old. But generator coaches, I find myself constantly reference checking with my clients that what I've said resonates with them. Because what I'm doing by that is gaining the feedback that what I'm sharing is actually true for them. So, does that make sense to you? Or does that feel aligned? Or does that feel like it is your experience? And I always make a point to say to my clients, you can always tell me I'm wrong. You can always tell me that it's not what you feel. You can always tell me that it's not accurate, because I'm just going to throw stuff against a wall and see what sticks. That's kind of my approach.
What's interesting that just occurred to me. This is maybe another sidebar, but this is the way I work.
This is the way a podcast works, Bryce.
Yeah. So there we go. So it's interesting because if I say this may not be resonant for you, if I get a no, it's not resonant for me, if there's something real deal that I know is right and it comes in and it doesn't resonate, that gives me different information on, it's like, okay.
Great point.
It's like, okay, I hear you. Let's look at that.
Yeah.
Why may that be not resonating for them?
I think
not that I feel like I'm always right, but it's something to explore differently for a manifestor versus exploring that response differently for a generator.
Right.
Does that make
no,
sense?
and I love that, because what you're explaining is, and this is what we're going to teach in our coach training, every type and every coach has a different relationship to their intuition. And generators will get knowings, instinctive, but depending on how they're designed. But I'm a splenic generator. And I always say to my splenic generators, I have instant decision-making capacity, but I have to be prepared to get things wrong. That's the whole point of it, because I'm always going to make a decision in the now, but the now changes. So I don't have the luxury of kind of going, I'll make a decision at a time. It's like I'm moving, which is why our business has been in... sorry, if you just got a load of feedback, I just knocked on my microphone. Our business has been in many iterations, because I have had to move in directions to hit a wall to turn around and respond against it.
Right.
Because I'm the motor force of this business as the generator. I'm the driver of it, which is why we're doing it in a generator way. And when we're together, we're a manifesting generator, which means we're a generator. So there is that. And as a coach, I very much don't coach in the way where I'm giving my clients truth, whereas you do. You have an instinctive connection to insight that's very inspirational.
Yes.
It's written into your design that's how you experience the world.
That has been the way that I have experienced everything since I was young. And I've probably said it a million times in a million different conversations. There is just this overwhelming, powerful
knowing.
It's like, I don't know how I know, but I know.
And I really love that we're having this conversation, because that's not the way everybody coaches. And I think it's really interesting that young coaches think that everyone should coach in the same way, whereas the biggest key that we are offering for our coaches is you are using your nervous system,
your unique
yeah,
style.
Yeah, and your nervous system is the thing that does the coaching. So everything about Unveil, you'll feel it when you come into our presence. We are very safe. We are very nurturing. This is our nervous system that's building a business.
Yeah.
When I coach my clients, I intentionally use my nervous system to, and it's not give them the truth as I see it, because I'm not you. I bounce them up against walls. And I know that sounds like a terrible thing, but I'm testing them by making things challenging sometimes, putting stress on them sometimes, because I'm allowing them to respond to my exercises. Like I said before, the desire exercise is the hardest piece of homework I ever give. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm giving them that homework, not because I want them to make a desires list, but because I want to know what happens when they try. And so for a generator, it's very much, I'm on the experiment with you. I have tons of intuition and I allow that to come through, but it's not always accurate, and it doesn't have to be. I don't have an ego attachment to being quote unquote right. It's basically, this is what I'm being told to say to move the client in a specific direction. Even if the thing that I'm saying is not true and it's wrong, it's additive. It's taking the client in a specific direction. So a lot of the times in my sessions, there will be the moment where the client wants to fire me. Happens all the time. And it's like, it's because I've challenged them a little bit. One of my favorite clients admitted after a 6-month coach package that almost after session, I think 3, she was like, I'm done. I can't do this. Because this stuff is challenging, and the way that the stuff comes through me isn't to make everyone's ride as easy as possible. It's for ultimate transformation and healing, and that isn't always as easy as possible. So generators, very much, we have to, it's much more constant. Whereas you're slow and then insightful, we are always kind of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this is not really the power of powerful questions or what to do when you don't know what to do, but if you're a generator and you don't know what to do, throw something against the wall and see what happens. And sit with the frustration as well. Like, know that it's not necessarily going to fix it, but you're just occupying your energy system with an action that is not decision and it's not forward motion. It's just, what the hell do I do in this moment? Well, let's read a Gene Key. And if you're not familiar with the Gene Keys, don't go on social media, go buy the Gene Keys book. just to return to that comment.
Okay, so we've got what to do when you don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. Human design can help you figure out the best way of approaching that based on your design. Then Victoria's given us some powerful questions to ask ourselves. We've gone into some philosophies about what that can potentially mean for you, those powerful questions. Is there anything that you want to add as far as asking ourselves powerful questions to figure out what to do in different scenarios?
I think the final thing that I would love to add is that sometimes you're really not supposed to know what to do. So the human brain is a solution-oriented machine. So what we've spent this podcast doing is kind of giving you loads of different options to know how to think about things, to ask different questions, to explore, basically. But sometimes the funk, as I like to call it, and the not knowing and the being absolutely hopeless is the point at which magic comes in. And we share this all the time, that the moment where I, Victoria, admit I don't know, is the moment that something massively powerful is gifted to me from the universe. And it really
through
takes...
me.
Always through Grace. Wow. Oh, I love you so much, but no.
Now it's getting pushed. It's like, oh.
But no, and to be honest, sometimes through you, and sometimes through something that I could never have predicted. And it's truly by owning the darkest moments of, I've got no idea. I literally have nothing right now. I have nothing, and it's hopeless, and there's nothing left. And then you just wait.
There you go.
Or phone up Brace and he'll just give you some.
Well, the silence. The silence I find in here's another little thing. If you want to go over stuff and you don't know what to do and you want to ask yourself some questions, find some water. This one really, really works for me. Water, just the sound of water changes the way your brain waves work.
Can you do that just by listening to a water track, or do you actually have to be near water and hear it?
So I don't know enough about
just you personally.
The ins and outs. Me, I have to be around water physically.
I think it's a physical thing to be.
Like it has to be like running or like
run a tap.
Well, I love my shower time. I love my shower time.
Yeah.
I get the biggest, deepest like ahas when I go in and just zone out. And sometimes I'll zone out in the shower. And
what's
then
it feel really high?
It is. And for all my conservationists out there, I apologize and will be more cognizant of that. But those are a lot of insight comes through. And
just to say as well, like when we were talking about it yesterday, water is emotion. Energy is in the water. Emotion flows. So water is a very emotional element. And it's really important that if you are emotional or not emotional, you know your water strategy. So you keep hydrated, yes, but you also know what you need. And I am missing South Africa a bit because I was on the beach every day. I was literally by the ocean, walking along the beach, feeling that restorative capacity within that environment. And it does make a difference. We joked all of last season about my duck pond. But the reason I found my duck pond is because I'm a homing pigeon for water. And for me, as an unemotional person, that is because it clears me out. And for you, as an emotional person, it will move your wave on. So you'll get insights and I'll just get peace in water.
See how water affects you.
Yeah, that's your homework for the week, guys.
Yeah.
Go and experiment with your water element.
And ask yourself powerful questions. Don't judge the answers either. Just be open for whatever comes in. Just play around with it. Experiment. It's only going to benefit you. There's nothing about this process that is going to hurt you at all.
Just don't drown.
Wow. I was like passionate and feeling it.
And just to say, like if we've intrigued you, about human design, I have done an intro to type in 3 minutes that you can access if you go to unveilenterprises.com/human design types, all one word. And it is me rattling through the auras of types in a slightly different way than we've done today. So you'll get something out of that. You just have to sign up to our newsletter and you'll have access to my video and also the links there on how to get your free chart. If we've talked about human design and you're like, I still don't know what type I am, we've got the links in that video for you to go and get your human design type.
Nice. Ooh. Let the party begin.
Yes, unveilenterprises.com/human design types. Links will be in the show notes, if I remember.
Awesome. All right. I think
we're done.
Yeah, we should be done. But for now, I'm Brace Harris.
And I'm Victoria Fenton.
And we are
Unveil.
Stay informed with all things Unveil. Sign up for the newsletter at unveilenterprises.com/sign up.